What is your reaction, and what can you tell us about how the community of Boulder has responded to this tragedy?
Well, thank you for having me, Lawrence. It's been a devastating week for Boulder, from this community, from my community, and certainly for the state and the country. We are in the process of healing and grieving and lifting up the victims, the 10 people who tragically lost their lives at yet another mass shooting on Monday. You heard Mr. Olds describe one of the victims. You were learning so much about each of these treasured community members who led very special, impactful lives, the people that they touched, the impact that they had in Boulder County and across our state and beyond. And so we're really focused on them and doing what we can to help our community heal. Boulder is a strong community. It's a resilient community. It's a kind community. And so I have no doubt we will come together to help each other during this incredibly important and tragic time.
We just saw a senator who engages in just about nothing other than political theater, has absolutely no legislative accomplishments in his time in the Senate, none, accuse you and the Democratic Party of engaging in political theater after this mass murder. What is your response to that?
Yeah, I would say this, Lawrence. It is so disappointing and yet emblematic of the approach that the senator you mentioned and others have taken in years past when we've had tragedy after tragedy happen in our country. And it's clear to me, I think it's clear to you, I think it's clear to the vast majority of the American people that we have a gun violence crisis in the United States. And my constituents are tired of inaction. They are tired of excuses. They want the Congress to take the steps necessary to protect our communities so that people can feel safe in their grocery stores, in their schools, in movie theaters, and in their communities. And so I heard some of the arguments, and of course the clip that you just played, it's confounding to me. And none of the arguments that Senator Cruz made were coherent and, in my view, are cogent arguments. At the end of the day, empirical evidence shows that the bills that have been proposed thus far in the Congress, like universal background checks, closing the Charleston loophole, and an assault weapons ban, reinstating the ban, as you know, that worked so effectively years ago, they would save lives. We should take those steps.
Gun legislation is one of the few areas of what we might call liberal progress that has occurred, say, beginning in the 1930s with Social Security and onward, where there have been reversals. I mean, Joe Biden was able to get through an assault weapons ban in 1994. And we have gone backward in terms of that kind of progressive step that we took in the 1990s and that the statistical evidence shows worked very well.
You're precisely right, Lawrence. And of course, I know you as a student of history and having served and worked in the Senate. In 1994, there were 9 Republicans who voted for the assault weapons ban when then Senator Biden helped lead the charge. What's happened in the last 2 decades is hard for me to describe the feeling that so many of my constituents have as they look to a federal government that has time and time again failed them in taking these meaningful, reasonable steps that are supported by a broad portion of our population in the United States and across the political spectrum. So there's no excuse for us not to take action. Obviously, the entrenched interests have fought tooth and nail against such efforts year after year, but I am hopeful that we will finally be able to make some meaningful progress this year with President Biden leading the helm, given what he just said yesterday at the press conference.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has said that the difference between the last few years on this issue and now is that we now have a Democratic Majority Leader of the Senate, which means he's in charge of the Senate calendar. He has promised to bring something to the Senate floor. It will face the challenge of current Senate rules and filibuster rules, but he is promising to bring certainly background checks at a minimum to the Senate floor.
Which is an incredibly important step. And I'm appreciative of the fact that Senator Schumer, Leader Schumer, I should say, has committed to doing that. And that finally we will have a debate on the floor of the United States Senate about sensible gun violence reform legislation. But I would also say, Lawrence, I know you're going to have Senator Merkley on in a few minutes, and I couldn't agree with him more. It's time to end the filibuster. At the end of the day, a relic like the filibuster should not preclude and prohibit and really stop us from making meaningful progress on these issues that we know ultimately will save American lives.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.